I'm Toni King, and I am the owner of Sun Up Construction. We're located here in Madison Lake. We're primarily a fencing company, but we do have some paint contracts and some preventative maintenance contracts. We work, I would say for the majority of the time, all commercial contracting. This last year, I think like 90% of our work was all state and federal contracts. I think the variety helps us out a lot. There's no fence work or contracts there. You know, we pick up more with our paint contracts or our preventive maintenance contracts. My business got started in '89. My grandfather owned it, Rocky, and he did primarily restoration. In '93, my father bought the company, and he ran it. And of course, you know, always being around, I was always around. So then, a couple of years ago, my dad really started considering retiring. You know, what his goal was for his future, and that's when me and him kind of sat down and decided that I was gonna buy into the company. And I think in '09 was when it really came down to that this was what I was gonna do, and really put all my effort into it. I guess the main thing that I like is the challenges, especially when it comes to estimating, because I like numbers, I get numbers, and plus if it's a type of fencing project or a project I'm not used to, I like finding new suppliers, new distributors. You know, just anything that's not the norm. I like those type of challenges, you know, because there's so much fence that's just exactly the same except the quantities. But when, like the project in Lutzen, that's a decorative fence. So I had to find a supplier that I've never used before. They were the only one in Minnesota, actually in the nation now, that still deals with copper naphthenite wood. So that was a challenge, getting him to quote me, because usually they only quote certain people. Plus, I like to work with people. I like my employees, you know. They're pretty cool guys. I get along with them. So I like the interaction with them. And, you know, it's cool because we hire a lot of, I don't want to say goofy, I mean, because I think everybody's a little goofy, but, I mean, they really are fun to work with. I like to put the numbers together. I like to win, you know. So being an estimator and I put in a quote and I win that, you know, that's great. You know, I'm not like a real lucky person, you know, like gambling or stuff like that. So I like to win some way, and when I quote, I get that satisfaction. I would say one of the biggest difficulties is being a minority woman in this industry. You know, it's just it's hard. You know, some people, you know, they're looking at me like I'm the bookkeeper or someone, you know, not very high on the pedestal. You know, they don't exactly understand my role sometimes, and, you know, they have that preconception. I've had to call meetings and get everybody together, and I've even had some people upset thinking that I didn't have the right to do that. And then when we get out into the field, you know, especially if sometimes, you know, when we're short men or we have so many projects, or even like I'm the only operator installer, so even when I get on site, you know, I know some people are like, who brought the chick, right? You know, and they don't understand, like, if there's a problem, you know, the problem's coming to me. You know, and sometimes they don't like that. When I bought in the company, it wasn't even a factor or consideration that this is a male industry and it's going to be harder. The main accomplishment was to keep it in the family. I started my family very young, which made an extended education not too easy. I think in the beginning it held me back because I didn't really understand a lot of the financial concepts of managing a company, besides getting the guys out to work and getting a job and bringing in customers, bringing in job numbers, things like that. So I hadn't really done a lot of financial, you know, like making a lot of decisions off where my finances were at, and that was really new to me. Definitely being a woman has its challenges. It's not easy. It's not. I learned about the SBDC through a bunch of classes in Mankato that are either sponsored by, some are sponsored by South Central, some by the state, and some are also sponsored by the SBDC. Well, I didn't know that. I was going to, I think, maybe like a sales and use free seminar, and there I met Julie, and she was handing out brochures for, you know, if anybody needed extra help for the Small Business Development Center. And then she started asking me more questions about Sun Up Construction. She was like, well, you know, come in, talk with Mike. You know, even if you don't think you need any help, you know, it's always good, come in, talk to Mike, and, you know, he'll run through some questions. And Mike Nolan is the director of the Small Business Development Center. I went in to see Mike, and he ran through, and I think he probably just grilled me with financial questions for like 45 minutes. From there we started working on cash flow, managing cash flow, how to better use my QuickBooks to work for me. Like, one thing that I'd always been struggling or wanting to do with my QuickBooks was track specific jobs. You know, like how much labor did I put into it, how much materials, you know, am I estimating this correctly? The next project, do I need to put more money, or can I bring down my quote a little bit? I told him the things that I wanted to see and how we were kind of tackling that. For a while I'd go in there, we'd make a plan on something very little, you know, just tackling a little problem at a time. And then we would start adjusting that and making the changes, and I'd go back in, okay, well I think we got a hang of that now. And then coming back and working on another problem, and just going from there. I think if I got anything from Mike and the Small Business Development Center, it's definitely a financial understanding of my books and what I need, what bankers look for, what tax people look for, what I'm looking for, because bankers, taxes, and me, everybody's looking for completely different numbers. The Small Business Development Center has helped me out a lot. Minority entrepreneurs do experience something a little extra. If you have something that's slowing you down, there's something out there that can fix it. There's been a lot of work to make programs out there so that minorities can overcome some of those initial roadblocks. There's another program, LAMANO, that I've used quite a bit, you know, in helping or in advertising or things like that. The Small Business Development Center, they know, I mean, that's how I found out about LAMANO. They know about all the programs out there, you know, so even if Mike can't help me, he always knows a good person to lead me to. And I think that's, I mean, I don't think I'd be where I was at today without them.